Thank you for joining us and welcome to the finals for NAIOP's 9th Annual Development Challenge. This program is in line with NAIOP's mission, one that was established by and for our members. The annual competition allows developing leaders to demonstrate their talents and skills to senior industry members through written and live oral presentations. By expanding our developing leaders' skill sets and networks, we're empowering our future leaders today. This year's competition is centered on what is currently known as the Esplanade Assembly, a contiguous parcel of land nearly 2 acres that's owned by Allied REIT. During the summer, professionals 35 years or younger from all industry disciplines and students from Ontario universities formed teams to develop their concepts for the redevelopment and repositioning of the site. Mimicking a real-life experience, the teams worked within the constraints of the actual site. This year, we received 12 submissions. After having gone through a preliminary judging round, 3 finalist teams remain, and they're truly a diverse group. Our program this evening will begin with these 3 top finalists presenting their team's vision for the redevelopment of the subject site. Each presentation will include a question and answer period, and after that's done, the judges will deliberate and choose a winner. Our thanks to the many organizations that have supported this year's event, beginning with our presenting sponsor, KingSett Capital. I'd also like to recognize our contributing sponsors, Broccolini, Canderel, Epic, Fiera, and Forgestone. And we appreciate our visual sponsor, Norm Lee. Our MC tonight is Bryce Gibson, Executive Vice President, Capital Markets at JLL. He was intimately involved with tonight's subject as he brokered the most recent sale of the site to Allied. And a quick shout out to Bryce, who spearheads our annual golf tournament. We just had it. It was a great success and oversold. Please welcome Bryce.
Thank you, Joseph, and thanks to you for your fine work as NAIOP president this year. It's no doubt a especially challenging one. Welcome, everyone, to this virtual presentation of the NAIOP Development Challenge. As Joseph mentioned, this year we had 12 submissions. Of those, 3 finalists presenting today were selected. A huge thank you to the first round judges who did an amazing job reviewing and ultimately selecting the groups presenting here today. Before we get to the presentations, let me introduce our esteemed panel of judges. First, we have Kathy Black. If Kathy could wave to the crowd.
Good evening, everyone. Looking forward to the presentations tonight. Good luck to the finalists.
Kathy is currently Vice President of Development at Fiera Real Estate, responsible for the investment activities of Fiera Real Estate Funds. Kathy has 18 years of experience focusing on real estate developments of various asset classes, having overseen projects totaling more than $2.3 billion and delivering a combined 12,000 residential units. Working through various municipalities and the unique policy challenges they face, Kathy's expertise pertain to municipal approval processes, land purchase and project feasibility, land zoning, site-specific planning and development, and project management. Sounds like Kathy does it all over at Fiera. Up next, we have Lindsay Brand, if she doesn't mind waving to the crowd, identifying herself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me this evening.
Lindsay is currently Chief Investment Officer of Dream and is responsible for all the investments and capital allocation across Dream Unlimited and Dream Alternatives. In addition to investment, Lindsay is responsible for the portfolio management for Dream Alternatives and management oversight for all of their partnership developments. She joined Dream in 2011 and has held various positions throughout the organization prior to her current role. Prior to joining Dream, Lindsay worked at CIBC in both the corporate development and real estate finance. Lindsay graduated with distinction from the HBA program at Richard Ivey School of Business and also obtained her Master's of Real Estate Development from Columbia University in New York City, where she likely enjoyed a little fun as well. Up next, we have Andrew Hoffman. Andrew, if you can wave if possible.
Hello, everyone. Looking forward to the presentations tonight.
Andrew is founder and CEO of CentreCourt Developments, Inc., a private development company focused on high-rise residential development in the GTA. Over the last 6 years, CentreCourt has delivered over 5,000 residential units and has an additional 6,000 units under development. Andrew has over 30 years of experience in real estate development and is active in numerous volunteer endeavors, including board participation at Princess Margaret Hospital Foundation and Mount Sinai Hospital, and sits on a number of committees. He is also on the investment committee at Ronald McDonald House here in Toronto and chairs the building committee for the new JCC. Andrew is also co-founder and board member of the Hold'em for Life Charity Challenge, an organization that has raised significant funds for cancer research, and certainly an event that I personally enjoyed on many occasions. It's fantastic. For his contributions to the community, he was the recipient of the Community Service Award at the 14th Annual NAIOP Rex Awards, and Andrew also holds an LLB from Osgoode Hall Law School here in Toronto. And finally, my friend Jared Menkes. Jared, if you can.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jared. Jared oversees all aspects of the high-rise division at Menkes Developments, including the construction, sales, management, and customer service of more than 10,000 condominium units in Toronto. Under Jared's leadership, Menkes has launched a number of luxury and mixed-use developments, including the award-winning Harbor Plaza residences in Toronto's South Core and Pears on the Avenue. He is currently overseeing Menkes' latest mega project called Sugar Wharf, an 11.5-acre site on Toronto's waterfront, which will include 5 condo towers and Toronto's first vertically integrated school. As well, Jared is managing the redevelopment of the South VMC lands with a project called Festival, one of Canada's largest new master plan communities. We're very grateful to all the judges for volunteering their time with us this evening. The judges' decisions will be based on the quality of the 3 presentations tonight in terms of their creativity, practicality, financial feasibility, and how the plan is communicated overall. After each presentation, we'll have questions from the judges, as well as you, the audience, will have a chance to make your voice heard by voting for the team through as to who you thought best by voting in the audience polling box on your screen. A little bit of quick background on the site. For this year's case, Allied Properties REIT generously partnered with NAIOP to offer the Esplanade Assembly as the subject site. Over the course of 7 separate acquisitions, Allied has assembled 35 to 49 Front Street East, 54 to 70 the Esplanade, in a continuous parcel of land totaling nearly 2 acres. With the announcement earlier this year that the City of Toronto will redevelop the neighboring St. Lawrence Centre for the Arts, the Esplanade Assembly represents a significant development site of scale and character in the heart of an art and cultural hub in downtown Toronto. I personally have some interest in hearing tonight's presentation, as my team and I were involved in the sale of both 54 and 70 the Esplanade to Allied. The teams were challenged with balancing creativity, profitability, pragmatism with a real-world development site that featured land assembly, heritage constraints, and re-intensification of approximately 232,000 square feet of existing office and retail uses. Now, we're all excited to see what they've come up with for this site. So now let's please welcome our first presenters. I'm very pleased to introduce our opening act. Please join me in welcoming team DSMF Developments. This team includes James Daniel of RioCan REIT, Calvin Fung of Turner Fleischer Architects, Nebi, he's a little bit like Prince or Madonna, he's got one name, and Karina Samachkina from Ernst & Young.
Good evening, everyone. We at DSMF Developments, being James Daniel, myself from RioCan, Karina Samachkina from Ernst & Young, Calvin Fung, and Nebojsa Milutinovic from Turner Fleischer, are excited to present our proposal named the Penrose. From a high level, the Penrose is a high-quality, hyper mixed-use development that is approximately 700,000 square feet in size, composed of purpose-built rental, office, retail, and hotel components, and has approximately 500 residential units. For context, the site is located in the heart of the St. Lawrence Market area, immediately adjacent to Bursey Park. The site is approximately 2 acres in size, with roughly 230,000 square feet of existing non-residential GFA. And there are significant heritage properties that occupy the site and buildings that occupy the site that need to be preserved and incorporated into the design. For the market for office, Class A office buildings in Toronto have continued to display strong year-over-year fundamentals. Toronto has the lowest vacancy rate out of any major North American city, currently sitting at 2%. For hotel, the initial outlook for 2020 was for RevPAR to grow by 2.1%. That's prior to COVID. And given the location of the asset in the St. Lawrence Market area, which is a very tourist-friendly part of the city, and its proximity to Union Station, we believe this is a great site for hotel use. And for purpose-built rental, the City of Toronto continues to experience ultra-low vacancy rates with demand outpacing supply. Purpose-built rental vacancies are currently at 1.8%, and year-over-year rents are at up 2.6% from 2019 to 2020. The downtown Toronto purpose-built rental market is showing great resiliency in the face of COVID-19, with lease activity within 5% of last year's levels. And for demographics, just to summarize it all, the average age of individuals are 25 to 44. That takes up about 50% of the trade area. The average income is around $133,000. 55% of people are in one-person households, 35% are in two-person households, and 98% live in apartments. So in summary, based on the demographic information we have, we've classified the target market as young, well-educated singles and couples with high incomes who are attracted to the high energy lifestyle and transit offering that this great location provides.
Our vision for this proposal is centered on three principles. Given its location, we wanted to offer a diversity of program, uses, and tenancies to support the vibrancy of the neighborhood, but also increase resilience in case of economic downturn. This super mixed use program is effectively combined to promote a strong sense of community and engagement. The community is also about the acknowledgement of historical, planning, and environmental layers on the site. And third, we package it together with an exceptional design, a standout development focusing on quality, experiences, and efficiency to ensure a lasting product and a competitive positioning. When we first approached the site, we took a conventional approach to the deployment of density, which was used to establish a baseline scenario. Even with this scenario, there were some planning constraints that would pose a challenge to achieving what we thought could be the true potential of the site. But rather than let it deter us, we fully embraced these planning controls and turned them into an opportunity to do something different. Taking cues from its environment, Bursey Park, the iconic Flatiron Building, and even the angular plane, the design embraces sharp lines and the triangular form, uniquely leveraging the full depth of the site and the angular plane. Development potential is maximized while at the same time creating special architecture that is distinguished yet respectful of the heritage on the site and the neighborhood.
As mentioned, we're planning for diversity of uses, all thoughtfully mixed together, prioritizing connection throughout the site while maintaining function and practicality. At Grade, we have featured retail along both Front Street and the Esplanade and incorporated a shared drop-off providing central access for retail, as well as the residential, office, and hotel lobbies. With such a deep site, this has presented a perfect opportunity for large podium plates necessary to support commercial uses such as the required office space. We also introduced a small key featurette of hotel at the corner of Church and the Esplanade. The triangular residential form sits on top of the commercial podium with emphasis on conventional floor plates and stacking demising walls for construction efficiency, all while creating a unique space for an outdoor amenity courtyard for residents. Art and culture is abundant on the site. A key feature is the physical connection to the St. Lawrence Center for the Arts and the opportunity to promote programming with TO Live. By providing a link from Bursey Park and Front Street, this covered connection opens up to a wide green space with room for commercial patios. The intent for this area is to create a public space for live music and performing arts events that would spill out into the corridor, enticing passersby to engage their natural curiosity and explore this unique feature of the site. As important as the programming of a site is, it's also important to remain true to what was present before. With industrial and commercial warehouses of the late 1800s, our vision was to maintain the historic feel of the site by retaining and restoring the heritage facades for this development. Utilizing steel exoskeletal framing, we can support these pieces of history during construction. The existing heritage frontages also create a wonderful sense of pedestrian scale, which we've maintained along Front Street East and the eastern portion of the Esplanade. Along the western portion, we've introduced a more modern appearance with larger glazing, which parallels the harmonizing rhythm of the historic facade to the corner. The break in between we've used to provide some relief by recessing the glass facade where the residential and hotel lobby entrances are located.
When shaping our financial strategy, we focus on important considerations of what makes up a core asset, such as longevity of use, stability of recurring cash flows, and medium to low risk profile. Starting with longevity of use, our assumptions reflect the high emphasis on quality by estimating higher than average above grade construction costs, which are then expected to be translated into premium rents as well. Recognizing that the build-to-core investor would be looking for recurring income, we have chosen to implement the purpose-built rental component and diversify the development to ensure the resilience of the asset to economic downturns. We aim to balance this excitement of the development opportunity with more conservative and arguably more realistic valuation estimates, such as higher commercial capitalization and vacancy rates, and a longer lease-up horizon for residential units. We've also made a conscious decision to bring the debt to equity ratio down from the industry average to allow for the mitigation of credit risk. As we mentioned earlier, we provided an on-site performance space in the enclosed park, but also allocated $5 million of the Section 37 contribution to fund the redevelopment of the neighboring St. Lawrence Center of the Arts, with the remaining $3.3 million dedicated to affordable housing programs. The diverse mix of uses, coupled with efforts to enhance the cultural character of the area, truly brings this asset to its highest and best use at the stabilized value of over $700 million. Recognizing that build-to-core strategy is still growing in Canada, it was imperative for us to design a development that would be flexible from the financial perspective. As seen in the sensitivity analysis, we are able to bring the returns up to 17% with the same purpose-built rental strategy if the investor expresses higher appetite for risk and is willing to take on additional debt. Our strategy is driven by the goal to maximize recurring cash flow. However, 50-50 split of purpose-built rental to condo or even 100% condo alternative yielding higher RRRs can be explored. It is truly the development's unique design and impeccable quality that makes it possible to tailor the strategy to the investor's specific needs. Moving on to the timeline, we cannot be more excited to bring this project live and will begin our applications as early as Q1 2021. With entitlements and construction taking 2 and 4 years respectively, we expect full stabilized occupancy to be achieved by Q2 2027, with the majority of soft costs concentrated in the entitlement stage and hard costs distributed in the construction phase following a bell-shaped curve. With all of that being said, we're thrilled to present to you the Penrose, a rare investment opportunity to introduce a world-class contemporary development into the heart of the historic St. Lawrence market. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Team DSMF, for your presentation. I really like the distinctive design and the thought process of just your stepping design to address the heritage and the shadowing on the park, concerns that you have in the park, and good consideration there for future proofing of your operation too. I know you mentioned that you'd have some AI incorporation into that. So I'm curious about the hotel component. Seeing that there are within the neighborhood a lot of other boutique offerings, the Victoria Hotel, the Cosmo, just a walk away. How are you going to position that asset to have an advantage over the others? And at the same time, what options or flexibility have you factored in the event that the hotel operation fails?
Yeah, so I think thank you for your question, Kathy. I think one of the most interesting things about our site that we really wanted to do and the way that we approached it is to kind of create this super usability of it, right? So having office, having hotel, having rental, and having some retail. The condo market and the kind of the way that we breathe a little bit of life into such a large site that's kind of landlocked on two sides is creating that large central drop-off, which we feature kind of in between both streets as kind of a mid-block connection. So with that hotel, since it is only about 120 units and it's meant to be a little bit more boutique, a little bit more premium, We thought its location based on the Air Canada Centre and things like that, you would get sports stars kind of staying there for longer periods. We looked for a very kind of strong restaurant component, and we'd really try and activate the sense of, the fact that the drop off is a little bit more private. You can drop off some very, high-end customers without too much on look from the street and from pedestrians and things like that, as well as, just the liveliness around the neighborhood. That being said, it's a very good point that there is a lot of hotel in this space. We've always assumed that the whole building would be rental, but the hotel portion could definitely be looked at as potentially a condo element to the site.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your presentation, guys. I also love your design ideas. It's nice to see a fresh perspective on architecture and something bold and different. So thank you for sharing that. I think in line with your architecture, I'm curious about two things. One is, how did you navigate your efficiency and cost premiums with the design that you've presented for your development? And also just looking at your pro forma, it's quite a large equity check, and the equities put in up front, I think, from the way you've presented it. So did you guys consider at all a phased approach with some sales along the way to boost your IRR and make it more attractive for your investor?
I think I can speak to this one. Thank you for your question. In terms of the cost premiums, we've definitely considered that for the hotel and residential component. We are averaging in the market for our height of 239 floors. It is averaging around 250 per square foot, whereas we are budgeting 350. So we are definitely including that cost premium to account for some of the higher quality and also some of the terracing that we are planning to include in the actual design. Actually, on the terracing, we have also thought about how that unique build form is actually expected to be translated into higher rents as well. And we do hope that some of that additional cost being budgeted in would be then seen as a benefit moving forward. In terms of the equity, as I've kind of mentioned in the presentation, we have brought the debt to equity ratio down on purpose. But that being said, based on kind of like the beauty of having the investor being involved so early, it is possible to kind of make some of those decisions more collaboratively. And like you mentioned, explore options to perhaps do a phased approach or do a 50-50 split between condo and purpose-built rental to kind of elevate some of that upfront equity ask to recover some of that immediately after the construction is done. So all of these things are definitely possible. And because the design is so unique and interesting, it does allow for that financial flexibility as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, team DSMF Developments. That was a very well thought out and engaging presentation. I would now like to introduce our next team, J-Crest Developments, which I believe they're going by. This team includes Tasha Adair of Walker Knott Drajovic Associates Limited, Jessica Armini of Canderel, Katarina Kuda of Turner Fleischer Architects, Adam Gold of Canderel, Regina Lee of B&H Architects, and Stephen Traeger of Canderel.
Good evening, judges, viewers, NAIOP community. To begin, thank you for your time and consideration today to review our proposal for The Collective. During today's presentation, we'll review the following topics: the team, the challenges, the site, what's inside, a day in the life of, the timelines, and financial assumptions and returns. To introduce our team, my name is Jessica Armeni, and my colleagues are Katarina Kuda, Regina Lee, Tasha Adair, Adam Gold, Stephen Traeger, and together we are J-Crest Developments, Inc.
So we first looked at our challenges for the site and have categorized it into two parts: heritage and the existing built environment. In the late 1800s, the Esplanade was typically used for service and shop buildings to support the industrial boom of the city. Currently, the site has evolved to meet the demands of the area with a mix of retail and restaurants at grade, and offices on the floor above. So then we asked ourselves, what can the future hold? How can we attract users to its historical roots? To truly understand the site, we had to look beyond. What makes this neighborhood so unique, and how will we fit in? Some highlights include Berksey Park, a key gathering space adjacent to Front, the prevalent mid-rise residential typologies, and creating a partnership with TO Live and the Center for the Arts to attract tenants and owners to the development. The neighborhood also extends beyond what's beside us. The site is 8 minutes from Union Station and St. Lawrence Market, which is important to supporting how the collective will thrive. So knowing all this, what are the planning parameters?
In terms of zoning, our development is consistent with the commercial residential zone. We will apply for variances on FSI, height, and parking ratio. Additionally, this development proposal will require LPAT approvals. We have largely considered the importance of the tall building guidelines within our proposal. We have maintained the minimum 25-meter setback from existing developments and a 5-meter setback from the heritage buildings. Conducting the shadow analysis concluded 2 important days to highlight. On March 21st and September 21st at 10 a.m., our development will pose a shadow facing northwest, which will only reach the northwest street line and will not pose an impact on the neighboring park. Additionally, the proposed heights are consistent with the 45-degree angular plane and the setback requirements. Based on these zoning restrictions, Adam will introduce the new development.
Thanks, Tasha. The building is broken down into 4 main components: residential condominiums, office, retail, and green space. People will always need a place to live. Despite recent declines in condominium and apartment rents, which deterred us from purpose-built rental, the few recent condominium launches in the GTA have done well. As borders open and immigration comes with it, we believe the demand for residential condos will quickly return. We have a 2-building, 230,000 square foot GCA condominium project. The average suite size is 625 square feet for an average end price of $844,000. It is essential to keep the suites in this size range to ensure the end pricing is as affordable as possible. On the existing Spaghetti Factory site, we will build 2 levels of below-grade parking as a marketing tactic and a source of revenue for the condos. Our emphasis on old and new will be reflected in the architectural language, with the play of staggered facades juxtaposing the grid-like windows below. Our material palette also includes dark metal panels that provide a modern take to the cast iron Front Street building.
So now to the commercial portion of this project. The development will consist of 2 phases for an office redevelopment. The first phase will consist of developing a 4-story addition to the existing asset of approximately 28,000 square feet above the 2-story below-grade structure. The office building will be a super unique offering and could be marketed towards a tech user. And the building will have world-class amenities such as green rooftop space with meeting rooms, fitness areas, coffee bars, and more. In the second phase, we are redeveloping the existing 173,000 square feet of office and retail. The vision is to revitalize this already great asset to one of the premier office offerings in one of the best locations in the city. The current office landscape due to the COVID-19 pandemic is obviously uncertain. However, we are confident that the office space will be fully rebounded by the time we begin the redevelopment. We have decided to keep as many leases in place as we could until their 5-year expiries are up. From a design perspective, we wanted to highlight the historical aspects of this asset, such as the facade and grid-like windows, while also focusing on the future and modern amenities we're going to bring to life with this project.
With the third space, we plan to highlight the importance of play within the collective. As part of Section 37, we plan on donating a community hub in partnership with TL Live dedicated to the arts and theaters. The hub will include rehearsal spaces, editing studio, open space for hangout, immersive galleries, and also serve as a multi-purpose space for artists and the likes. As we know, people live and work in such a dense urban core, it is essential that we have a platform to escape. This is particularly important to the post-COVID era, where the occupants would value an increased amount of the third space at their fingertips. At the collective, we provide both our occupants with ample amount of green amenities. Our outdoor space consists of dog run, outdoor theater space, playground, exercise loop, pods for work and leisure activities such as yoga, arts and craft, and lounging. These multipurpose space and outdoor amenities are important to the overall success of the project, which allow for cross-pollination of users in a true mixed-use site.
So let's now meet Jack and Janice to experience what it's like to be at the Collective. So Jack and Janice are 30 to 35. They're residents at the Collective, and they're a freelance and software engineer. So let's see what Janice is up to. So Janice starts her day out with a track run with Jack at the Collective Park downstairs. She then goes back upstairs to have breakfast at the balcony looking over the city skyline. She then makes her way to the meeting pod in the Collective Park to meet with coworkers. She grabs a bite at the Esplanade on their patio. And by 1, she returns to the office for some heads down work. And at 6, she meets up with Jack for a relaxing stroll and to check out the art installation at Scott Lane. So while Jack and Janice are saving for their down payment, let's discuss when they'll move in.
The project runs from January 2021 until January 2027 and is split into 3 phases. Phase 1 is preparing our projects through zoning, entitlements, and our condominium sales. Phase 2 is the residential and office development. COVID has impacted every asset class in different ways. Residential development has been relatively stable with slight declines, which is why our first development is a residential component. This includes a 2-year rezoning timeline for city approvals to give time for the market to recover. It is expected that long-term, the office market will recover. We'll keep the current leases in place for income, then develop the remaining office to capture rents well after COVID is over and the current under construction office supply is absorbed into the market. The final phase of the development will be the renovation and revitalization of the existing retail and office, as well as the green spaces. The residential and office density on site built in phase 2 will create substantial traffic for retail, which enables us to maximize the rents.
So we have a few pro forma assumptions to walk you through before getting to the final metrics. As seen on the screen, condo revenue per square foot is projected at $1,400. Revenue per parking stall is $105,000. Retail base rent at $65 per square foot. Office base rent $40 to $42. The commercial TI is $25, and the terminal cap rate on the commercial sale is 4.5%. Now let's talk about the sources of funds. We'll be funding the project through 64% debt, 23% equity, 10% condo deposits, 2% net income offset, 1% condo deferrals. And here are the final returns and metrics. Total project cost of $392.1 million, a total equity requirement of $91.2 million, project profit of $102.9 million, return on cost of 26.3%, and a levered IRR of 14.6%.
So in the end, why our proposal? Our proposal celebrates heritage. Our proposal is community focused. And our proposal has justifiable returns. We thank you for your time and consideration today in reviewing the Collective. Are there any questions?
Yeah, maybe I'll kick it off. So first of all, congratulations on being shortlisted and a great presentation. And I really like the way you've integrated the green space into your plan as well as the heritage. So really well done. I guess my question relates to the fact that the vast majority of your incremental density is residential and the rest of your program is predominantly refurbishment of commercial. Just wondering how you looked at it from the perspective of your equity partner and the fact that they're looking for long-term recurring income, and how did you come to the conclusion of condo versus purpose-built rental on the residential component?
Yeah, so I think I could answer that question. I think we have to look at it not in a normal market. We have to look at it in the COVID market. So we have to look how asset classes are performing today. Look at office, look at retail, look at purpose-built rental, look at hotel, and look at condo. it seems to be pretty apparent to us that condo is holding the most stable. And despite the goals of our investors, we believe it is in their best interest, as well as our best interest, to go after the asset class which remains the strongest, which is condo. That being said, we still have a very large office and retail component that must be incorporated into the development as replacement. And in terms of hedging this risk, that's why we pushed it off into the later phases. You hold the office for the current income, then you lease it after the other office within the city has been leased up, because there is a lot of new construction in the market. And then the last thing you work on is the retail, because you already have the existing density on site, and it gives the retail, the asset class, which needs the most time to recover, many years to get to that point.
Great, I'll go ahead. That's okay, Kathy. I think you guys did a really great job designing it. I think you've taken into account realistic zoning expectations. You've dedicated a community benefit space through Section 37 for the TO Live, which I think is a great initiative. How do you foresee the ongoing cost for the future operations of the amenity community benefit? Have you set aside additional funds for this, or are you just giving the space up?
I guess I could answer that as well. So I believe throughout we're going to work on fitting it out, and we're going to work on, I believe it was 10 years of operating costs for the space, but our goal is eventually to pass on the cost to the condo corporation as that space is found within the condo corp. Doing the math on a maintenance fee basis, it only ends up being about, a cent per square foot. It's a very small amount. It's a nice 3,000 square foot fitted out space for the local musicians, because we wanted to incorporate the music and the heritage into the building.
Right, so I'll take the last question then. Good use of in-place rents with your pro forma, and also just the timing on the capital contributions. It's another question probably for Adam, so I'm going to switch my question and I'm going to ask about your timelines. If just sort of the phasing and the timeline for the project, how do you plan on sequencing it so that you're, because you mentioned with the in-place tenants, there's another 5 years to the lease, you're going to keep them in place until the very end. How are you going to sequence that so that they can still have quiet enjoyment of the space?
Oh, that's a great question. As far as the quiet enjoyment aspect, it's definitely a little tricky, but we do believe that the way that we structured the where we're going to put in the condo versus where the current tenants are, we're trying to space that out in as efficient way as possible so that it will be as quiet. Obviously, that's a great question, and it's a concern that we have addressed with the placement of where we're going to be doing the construction versus where the current tenants are in place.
If we have time for another question, I just wondering, in terms of the scale of your development, you did a good job of laying out the planning, and I think if I saw the numbers right, you're at around 490,000 square feet. Did you look at, from your planning outlook, was that the maximum density that you could fit on the site, or did you have an outlook that you didn't? Yeah, you looked at it from a modeling point of view that you weren't trying to maximize density.
So we were trying to maximize density as best as possible. Obviously, we want as many square feet as we possibly can to create as much profit as possible. But there are obviously some real zoning restrictions with this site. So we had to look at it, what is there right now, and it's the office and the retail. It's already a great asset, and I think we could make it even better. And then with the condo, that was the max zoning that we possibly could have looked at.
We also talked to, sorry, Adam, we also talked to, planning experts in the area who gave us a little bit of insight on what would be important to going forward and bringing forward to the site, knowing that there's a lot of mid-rises, no net shadow, things like that, which put restraints on us, but also made us look at this more creative of, okay, even if we have all these restraints, how can we make this a really great space too?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Team J-Crest Developments. That was very well done. I would now like to welcome our final team of the evening. Please join me in welcoming Revival Developments. This team is made up of Alejandro Fuentes of Crown Property Management, Jaron Collar of Dream Unlimited, Justin Leon of Montez Corporation, Camille Moranin of Rotman School of Business, Dale Nerland of Dream Unlimited, and Matt Urban of Crown Property Management.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Revival Developments and are very excited to present a once-in-a-lifetime off-market opportunity to acquire a 90% interest in the Revival Towers. Our plan is to create an intimate environment in the heart of St. Lawrence that balances both a modern but historic feel, which ties back to the character of the neighborhood and becomes a destination for people to live, work, play, and create. This proposed mixed-use investment will total 700,000 square feet of office, residential, and commercial uses in one of Toronto's most iconic neighborhoods. The project is expected to cost $614 million with $158 million equity injection over an 8-year time horizon with an expected IRR of 12%. The site is situated in one of Toronto's oldest neighborhoods and surrounded by historical landmarks, parks, theaters, and other amenities. Its strategic location also benefits from its proximity to transit with less than an 8-minute walk from Union and King Station, making this site a prime candidate for a mixed-use development.
Examining different use types, we decided to incorporate residential, office, and commercial uses into our site. Toronto is one of North America's tightest office markets, with 3.8% vacancy and 79% active construction already pre-leased. In addition, Toronto offers a low-cost alternative to many of its peers, which coupled with tight market conditions, points to strong future rental growth and supports further office development. Toronto is the fastest growing metro area in North America. High ownership costs, together with tightened mortgage regulations, have encouraged more individuals to seek rental accommodation. This trend is expected to continue, and Toronto rental demand is forecasted to outstrip supply annually, leading to a shortage of over 200,000 rental units by 2030. We believe rental development on this site provides the opportunity for superior long-term risk-weighted returns compared to condo because we're able to defer taxes, largely eliminate reinvestment risk, and take advantage of long-term capital compounding. We believe this location will become more valuable over time, and we'd like to participate in that upside.
To determine the potential density that the site can support, we began by looking at comps in the area. We see 75 the Esplanade as a key precedent with a height of 330 feet and an overall FSI of 9 times. We then moved on to the site-specific constraints. The key consideration in forming our massing is minimizing shadowing on Birchie Park. And for now, all building heights are below a 45-degree angular plane. More generally, our massing also abides by Toronto's design guidelines, and we plan on retaining all of the heritage facades. This next slide illustrates our site plan, which includes an office complex along Front Street, a res tower on the Esplanade, and retail uses at grade in the heritage podiums, as well as in the new indoor-outdoor retail arcade that we plan to run along the west side of the property. We have also added a raised amenity in the center of the site that will be built on top of a hybrid below and above grade structure housing the property's back of house. This design feature helps us to use the site efficiently and save on hard costs.
From our site development plan, our team is proud to present Revival, a redevelopment exemplifying the rebirth of St. Lawrence neighborhood, an intimate community that will become a destination for people to live, work, play, and create. Our overall design concept stems from the confluence of diverse forms and textures, reflecting the variety of uses integrated in the development. We wanted to have an approachable and familiar vibe as if it's organic to the neighborhood and as if it was created by the community. In the following slides, we will present the design concept for each individual component, starting with the residential tower that's located at the south side of the property, fronting the Esplanade. Given the superior economics of rental development, We have prioritized maximizing the density while ensuring space livability. Offsetting the required setbacks yielded a parallelogram footprint, but anticipating the workability issues of this shape, we tweaked the floor plates to avoid acute angled corners. This and the required height tiering shaped the residential block. Avoiding shadowing to Berksea Park, we achieved a three-tiered tower totaling 24 floors with a GFA of 421,000 square feet distributed to 541 units. Given its premium location, the tenant target markets include young professionals, small families, couples, and active retirees. Units with access to roof gardens will be marketed as garden villa units with their own private pocket gardens. An amenity courtyard accessible to all apartment residents will provide access to green open space and an opportunity for outdoor activities programming. The office tower perfectly complements the residential tower with its horizontality and the introduction of other different materials. The guiding principle in designing the office is providing abundant natural light and usage of sustainable materials. After the restrictions, we achieved a 9-floor tower with a GFA of 240,000 square feet. The tiered 6-story structure above the podium will be a mass timber construction. We will look to target Class A tenants with businesses looking to give their employees an enjoyable place to work with the best in class standards. Whereas the Heritage Podium offices have exposed brick walls, the offices above would have exposed timber, thus creating a consistent industrial interior style. The main feature of the podium is the retail arcade that stretches the entire 115-meter length of the site. In this perspective, you'll find the Front Street East entrance to the retail arcade and a glimpse of the colorful stained glass roof at the south portion of the covered pathwalk. The idea is to transition from the historic European feel of Front Street East to the artsy down-to-earth industrial vibe of the Esplanade. Our guiding vision is to create a communal space accessible to all the users of the development and the public while maintaining privacy and efficient servicing. The ground floor lobby of the office tower is accessible through this arcade, while the main lobby of the residential tower is fronting the Esplanade. On top of the roof slab of the back of house block will be the courtyard amenities deck. The retail arcade was inspired by the classic Parisian shopping arcade and envisioned to host small local vendors of crafts and F&B, maintaining the historic feel of the site. It will include a multitude of aspects that will benefit the enrichment of local community culture, including historical plaques, an art gallery, an Instagram wall. This is all part of the vision for the Esplanade frontage of the retail arcade to be vibrant and colorful, with mural walls painted by local artists with a theme flowing into the pavement.
We plan to partner with Artscape, an experienced nonprofit organization that collaborates with different artists. We expect to achieve our target density with a strong 22 million community contribution plan, including 20 affordable housing units, gallery space, the art partnership I mentioned in the previous slide, and Parkland Cash and Lieu. Sustainability is very important for us at Revival. We want to achieve LEED Platinum certification, tackling the 5 areas you see in the slide. I want to highlight 2 of the key sustainability features. The first one is timber. Compared to concrete or steel, the sustainable material has proven to reduce carbon emissions as well as limit the amount of waste and building material during construction. And the second is the vast available green space, improving air quality, divided into roof gardens, garden terraces, garden villas, and an urban farming amenity. Moving on the project timeline, the project will last 8 years, 3 years for rezoning, 4 for construction, and 1.5 years for lease-up. At the very bottom, you will be able to see our debt and equity requirements.
By its stabilization, we expect the development to be worth $739 million, generating $125 million in profit or a 17% profit margin. We anticipate a 12% 8-year levered IRR in line with long-term core quality returns. Sensitized value is examined within 5 percentage points, relevant especially today given the market uncertainty we're facing. And even in a bear case, we can expect to build with 13% profit margin. We would like to note that the density assumptions used are in line with precedent and could be considered conservative. In the event that we would pursue another 100,000 square feet in density, we could expect to achieve a 21% profit margin and a 15.5% IRR. Essentially, we have provided a very realistic base case scenario, which has the potential for uplift specifically related to additional density if we wish to pursue it. At a 4.6 stabilized yield on cost for the asset, that represents a 425 basis point spread to 10-year GOC bonds, which we believe to be generous compensation for the risk being assumed. In conclusion, we aspire to develop a high-quality portfolio of irreplaceable Class A assets in an invaluable location generating high returns. Thank you very much for your time, and now we'd like to open up the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, Revival team. That's a great presentation. I think you guys did a really good job of articulating well, I'm looking at an executive summary in print, but I think you did a really good job of sort of summing up your presentation and hitting on the key points from a financial perspective. I'm going to focus on something different than financial for you guys. I'm curious to understand the mass timber. I know you spoke to sort of the benefits from a wellness perspective, but how does incorporating mass timber in your development affect it from an economic perspective and from a construction perspective?
I can take that question. Well, it's in Toronto, it's proven that the timber construction, it's not yet proven that it's cost efficient. So we added a premium on cost on timber. And there's also a restriction on, and right now in Toronto, of building 6 floors only in timber. So we are aware that there's a bit of difficulty on constructing these, just because there's not many constructions using timber. But we are sure that there's a key sustainability feature on the material. And it can also add or validate like the premium rents we are looking.
Oh, I'll jump in there. I agree, great presentation, and I really do like the office design and the incorporation of timber. I think that was very creative. My question does relate to more the financial side, and I know that you contemplate a 90-10 joint venture, and I wonder how that joint venture structure works and how that layers into what you're paying for the land and the gross return of 12% and how that modeling actually plays out.
Well, I can take that one. If you're interested in investing, we can talk about fees at a later date to see what a net return would look like. In terms of participating, we would be looking for a 90% investment today. We have the land under contract for $200 million. We would be interested in pursuing potentially a structured land acquisition, deferring closing if possible. But as of now, we'd be looking for 90% of the equity for the land acquisition, as well as through development, which we expect to be about $160 million in total.
Great. I will ask more of a creative. I think you guys really knocked it out of the park, the outdoor green space that you've incorporated into the podium. I really love that. I think that retail arcade, the pop of colors that you've added is great. Definitely great marketing there. You mentioned that you referenced the tall building guidelines and you spent some time studying. You've got about 421,000 square feet of residential in 24 stories. Quick math, about 7,500 square feet per plate. How do you envision getting a plate of that size?
Mel, do you want to take that one?
Okay. Yeah, in reference to the residential floor plate, well, our goal was to maximize the density based on the site constraints. Like you have mentioned, the required setbacks from the neighboring properties, the shading restrictions, and the height restrictions. The current floor plate that we have has resulted from that. Is your question, is the concern about like the access to natural light? And then
no, the tall building guidelines in Toronto, you have to be 750 square meters or 7,500 square feet max.
Yeah, so we're generally abiding by. We have large floor plates in the podium, and then as we build up, we have slightly as it steps back. We have large floor plates in the mid rise, and then as it steps back for the third time, we're more in line with the tall building guidelines in the tall portion of the tower. So we're really taking advantage of the transitional density that the site is geared for in this area to maximize the mid-rise density. And it's something that I think we could refine through the zoning process and explore potentially more height and shifting the density throughout the project. But that's how we came up with the current massing and form.
Got it in the podium. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Team Revival Developments. That was an excellent presentation. The judges will now take some time to deliberate while you, the audience, are encouraged to participate in our audience polling portion of the evening. Please participate and have your say as to which team the audience favorite should be. We'd now also like to take this opportunity to thank all of those that have been part of the process to get to where we are tonight. Work on this event starts all the way back at the beginning of the year, and in addition to the tireless work of the fantastic NAIOP team, a large group of volunteers give their time to bring the development challenge to life. This includes the organizing committee, the advisors that provide guidance to the participants, the first round judges that whittled down the submissions into the finalists you've been lucky enough to see here tonight. So a big thank you to all those volunteers. The judges are almost done deliberating. We'll give them a little bit more time. We will return in a few moments to announce the winner. In the meantime, be sure to participate in our audience polling to choose your favorite proposal. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Again, a massive thank you to all of the volunteers that you see on your screen now. It's been a big job to put this all together. A fantastic work by all of those that stepped up and made it what it was. Thank you very much. So I have now received the official results. This is what we've all been waiting for, a big build-up tonight. And without further ado, we will announce a third place team. So please join me in virtually congratulating Team J-Crest for the third place win and a prize of $1,500. You can see all the virtual claps. So now, on behalf of everyone here, I'd like to be the first to congratulate the winner of the 9th Annual Development Challenge and the first prize. Please put your virtual hands together again for our first place team, Team Revival. Congratulations, Team Revival. Very well done. This means that at second place and with a cash prize of $2,500 is Team DSMF. Congratulations. So thank you, everyone. That concludes our event tonight. And on behalf of everyone involved, I think this was a fantastic and worthwhile event. Thanks again to our judges and volunteers and all of those that took part. It was fantastic. Thank you to NAOP, and congratulations again to all of our finalists. Enjoy your Thursday evening. Thank you.